All right. Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And I'm so honored and happy to be here before you today on this Monday, Moon Day, June 23rd, 2025, post the wonderful summer solstice that we just had over the weekend. And I don't know about you all, but I am willing that you all had a wonderful solstice. I did. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And it was also the International Day of Yoga on Saturday, June 21st. So you all know your girl is a yogini. So I was out teaching yoga at an event, and I had a great time, and I got to meet a lot of exciting people. The vibe was high, and the energy was just phenomenal. And the rest of the day, I just stayed quiet, stayed still for a while just to enjoy the time spent. And so I pray that each and every one of you has similar experiences. I really do, especially in light of all that's going on around us. But the summer solstice is here, and it's that time of year where we start really beginning to enjoy the fullness of the summer months, which are a great time, a time of abundance and growth, where we see a lot of growth and change taking place. And energetically, the summer is a very powerful time. Um, there's a lot of energies and light codes that come to Earth in the summer months. So with all of that, we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to all that it has to offer and promise. So tonight's topic, protecting your energy, and I wanted to talk about how important that is. A lot of us think about when we think about protection, we think first a lot of times about our physical vessel or protection outside of us. And all of that is correct. And you should think of that. But also, the subtle energies that make up who you are also need just as much protection, if not more, than your physical vessel. In fact, I wouldn't say if not more, it's the same, because you are both. You're the energy, you're the physical, the body temple. The temple of the Most High is where your indwelling spirit resides. It's also, if you will, is like an avatar, um, that you are using to navigate. Your spirit uses it to navigate throughout life. So you have to protect it just as you would, protect your home or your external space. And a lot of times, we do things to protect the outside. We put alarms on our homes. Our cars have alarms. I think nowadays most of the new cars, it is automatic in it. um, we think about ways to protect ourselves physically, with weapons or whatever. And we also have to have internal protection, or some way to protect the energy, the subtle energies, and what makes us who we are. And so the mind, the body, and the spirit, those of you who watch my channel, it's all connected. There's no separation. It's all one and the same. What affects one affects the other. So always keep that in mind. So if anything happens to you physically, it's also happening to you on an energetic level, and vice versa. So the state of your mind is the state of your spirit, and the state of your physical person. And so we want to always be aware of that and cognizant of that, and plan and act accordingly when it comes to that fact. So tonight we're going to talk about protecting your energy. Right now, 2025, what can I say? So this is a great time to be alive, family. There is so much change and expansion going on the planet, but at the same time, it can also be turbulent for some people. But that is all a part of the change that's taking place. And this is a time of great planetary change and alignment and growth, or you can choose to look at it in a different light. But we're going to choose to look at it as a time of great change, as the new earth is birthing. Some birth processes are smooth and easy, some take a long time, and some are not so smooth and easy. There's challenges and obstacles along the way. But think of yourself as, those of us who are light workers, we're the spiritual midwives. And so we are helping to guide those babies in, and to make sure that the baby and the mom are both safe and experience the best experience that they can have, because you want that birth experience to be beautiful and spiritual, and it's the welcoming in of a new soul, an ancestor returning, if you will. And you want that transition to be a joyous one of welcoming the new spirit, one of joy and happiness, and just the excitement of the new life that's coming to visit. And that's what we need to look at this time period that we're in now. It's there's joy and there's expansion involved. There's a lots of excitement going on as people are embracing the changes and the heightened sense of spiritual awareness and development that's on the planet now. So this is a time of great enlightenment. And although there are some strange and nefarious and turbulent things happening, but we want to focus on shifting it to a time of great change, and focus on the things that we want to see and that we want to spread on the planet, which is love, peace, justice, truth, and harmony, and abundance. And those things can be and shall be developed. We just have to hold the light and be the ones who usher in that new time of peace and abundance and truth and justice, and focus on and visualize and keep the momentum going. But in order to do that, folks, there is stuff going on that is not so pleasant and is not in alignment with the new earth. And we're not going to deny that fact. So we do have to protect our energy at all costs. We always have to be aware of our energy, how we're feeling, how we're thinking. Think of yourself as a performer, and the stage that you perform on is the world. Your audience is the world. And so each day that you go out, you're the performer, and you're going out to the world, you're going out to your audience. And so when you get on stage, the people came to see you. They paid their money, they're standing in line or sitting in the seats, and they're here to see you. They want to see you perform, because no one else can do what you do. You show up and you show out. So that's how you have to look at yourself and carry yourself each day. You're here to show up and show out and be the best version of yourself. That's how you show up and show out. And the world, your stage, your audience is looking for you, and are here to see you. They're here to see the energy that you bring, which is your essence. So that's what I mean when I say let's protect our energy more, because that is the energy, the essence that you are, and all that you are, and that you bring to the world stage or your audience. So that needs to be protected at all costs. And in order to protect your energy, you have to know what are your spiritual boundaries. Know your spiritual boundaries and stick to them. So you have to Establish what it is that you will allow and what you will not accept when it comes to your energy. If you are someone who has distanced yourself from, let's say, for example, certain narcissistic people or behaviors or certain things you just will not allow and you're not willing to compromise on, you have to be firm and stay grounded when it comes to those spiritual boundaries. Do not let anyone compromise or do not allow thieves into the temple, the temple of the Most High, which is your body temple. And so you have to really be firm in what those boundaries are. And thieves in the temple is not necessarily people that you have relationships with. It could be certain thoughts, certain ideologies, certain low vibrating things like low vibrating foods, vibrating conversations, places, things. All of those can compromise and defile the temple. And you must have a spiritual boundary or energetic boundary of what you will and will not allow. And stick to it. You know, um, I mentioned earlier that, well, years ago when I started my channel, I was talking about the great awakening and the great shift that was taking place spiritually. And that was like the embryo stage and the pregnancy stage, those years. But now we're more into the birth and the newborn stage when it comes to the planetary spiritual development as things are um, becoming more enlightened, and as the awakening process takes place, it's so different now than it was a few years ago. But like I said, some births are easy transitions and some are not so. But at the end, we know that we're going to have our beautiful baby. And that saying, which is so true, as a mother I can vouch for it. Once that baby is born, you forget all about what you went through those hours during the labor process. So look at it now as spiritually, this new paradigm shift that we're in. We're like in the newborn birth stage. So the birth is not an easy transition. It's not going to by as quickly as many of us would like, but it's a process nonetheless. So with that said, in this process, know your energy, get more in tune with yourself and do more inner work so that you know what it is that doesn't sit well with you. What is it that makes you uncomfortable energy wise, and know how to protect those things and have boundaries. Okay. Remember to protect your energy at all costs, just like you would protect your physical. Protect your energy. If you know there are certain people, places, or things that make you feel uncomfortable, that make you feel out of sorts, that just don't sit right with your spirit, then by all means, you have to avoid those. And if you are surrounded by people who don't respect your boundaries and who keep violating them, then it's up to you to make sure you, um, it's up to you to put the protection around yourself. It's up to you to be the protector and, not to allow your boundaries to be compromised. Just like when you have a war and, in days past, communities, well, the civilizations rather, built walls around their cities to protect them from their enemies. So you have to do the same thing. You have to put an energetic wall around yourself, um, One way is just monitor what kind of people, places, and things that you encounter and that you expose yourself to. That's one way you can put a wall around you. Another way is actually visualizing um, a spiritual wall around you, or a bubble or a shield. That's another thing that you can do. To protect yourself from certain types of energies. But the main one is just monitoring and being careful and mindful of your own spiritual boundaries. This includes what you consume on all levels. So, not only the foods and the drinks that you consume, the kind of people that you interact with um, on an intimate level, and also the people that you interact with on a social level. You have to be mindful of that as well, because energy is neither created nor destroyed, and it transfers. So if you're always around low vibrating people, and if you always feel heavy and uncomfortable around certain people, and or if you work in an environment or live in an environment that you feel your energy is being sucked out of you, or you're losing it when you're around those kinds of people or those kind of atmospheres and environments, that is another example of why you have to develop and some spiritual boundaries and stick to them and protect yourself with them at all costs. So it's just like there's a spiritual war going on, and your armor that you use to protect yourself and your weapons against the spiritual war are the spiritual boundaries that you establish and your spiritual practices and how you maintain them. That is a part of your armor and your weapon against it. Okay. So always be aware, but now more than ever, be more aware of who you are around, where you go, and who and what you engage with. It's a lot of different kinds of energies present on the planet right now. And many of you are probably more aware of that now than ever, especially the empathic people. And you may feel it. I had a conversation with a lady today in public. We just started talking, and she said that she felt this great um, sinister energy. And she said, I'm empathic and I can just feel it. And she said, I just feel like it's something out there that's just in this. She said, I feel like it's getting stronger. And I said, yeah, I can relate, definitely. And as it gets stronger, you also have to get stronger. You have to be stronger in your ways of protecting yourself. You have to be stronger with your spiritual boundaries. You have to be stronger with how you develop your mind and how you look at these circumstances. If you hear something terrible that's happening, and or something does happen terrible, and you just give up or allow it to break you, you are not developing strong spiritual boundaries. And I know life can be very difficult and challenging at times. And a lot of time, things will happen and people will feel like giving up. But what I would suggest you to do, instead of giving up, take a break if you can from what's happening, so that you can regroup and fortify yourself. And so you can be ready for the things that come at you, so that you won't feel so defeated and so broken. So always be aware of who you are around, where you go, and who and what you engage with. Those things you get to choose. That is another part of establishing your spiritual boundaries. You get to choose those things. Now, unless you're a child and someone is making those decisions for you, if you're an adult, you should be making those decisions. And if you're not, then you definitely need to put yourself in a place where you are able to make those decisions. Be aware of who you're around and where you go and who and what you choose to engage with. Um, The another thing that is so important and so essential at this moment to establish your spiritual boundaries are keeping up your spiritual practices. And I know I say that a lot in a lot of my videos, but it's true. And this is something that I live by daily is you have to have a spiritual practice, just like you have you feed your body, the food and the drink that is for the physical. You also have things that you need for your spiritual. You have your spiritual needs, if you will. So you have your physical needs. You have, you need to rest. You need to nourish yourself with food and water. You also need to have a spiritual practice that nourishes your spirit and your soul. And those are your prayers, your chants, your other spiritual practices, decrees or whatever it is that you do, reading sacred texts and scriptures, fasting, doing other spiritual practices, spending time in nature helps you connect to spirit as well. All of those practices, whatever it is that you do in your culture or your religion or your spirituality, however it expresses itself, keep up your spiritual practices, increase them if you have to do them more than once a day. Many of us have spiritual practices that we practice um, upon rising in the morning. So if you have a set that you do in the morning, you may want to adopt another set for the evening. So the way that you end your day is the same way that you begin your day, in prayer or meditation or decree or your reading or your spiritual practices, whatever it is. This will help you stay strong at this time and help you develop those spiritual boundaries and give you the strength that you need to get through these times. Um, if you don't have a spiritual practice that you live by, I strongly um, suggest that you develop one. Develop something that resonates with your soul, and you practice that, and you do that daily. That's why it's called a spiritual practice. You do it daily to the point that it becomes second nature. I'm sorry. Do it daily. Um, just as you would exercise or eat and drink daily and get some sleep, you do those practices. Remember, you are the captain, El Capitan, or um, the guide of your ship, and your ship is that holy temple of the Most High, which is you, your physical vessel. So remember to always protect that your body temple and your mind. So you wouldn't allow anybody to violate the temple. Don't let them violate your energy and your mind. Always protect it no matter what. It's precious. Um, over the weekend, I went to this great event, which was an outdoor event celebrating Juneteenth. I was teaching yoga there, and someone said that another person ruined their entire day. And I was like, what do you mean they ruined your entire day? And they said that the person they were one of the people that organized the event, and they said the person didn't show up on time. And then not only did they not show up on time, they were a very key integral part of the performances, and it just delayed everything. And then the person had lots of excuses why they didn't show up on time, and it made a lot of other people upset. And so the person felt like, my whole day has been ruined by this person. And we don't want to give anyone that kind of power over us, that they can upset us by the things that they do, because we don't have control over other people's behaviors and their actions. And all we can control is how we feel and our reaction and what's going on with us. So when they act like this, or they do things that are not appropriate, or offensive. We have to, sometimes breathe through it and decide, is it worth me getting upset? How should I handle this situation? Is it is it something that I should be feeding my energy to, or should I just let it go? And um I think it's case by case. You got to look at the scenario and the situation to decide what's the appropriate course of action to take. And another thing we're going to talk about just briefly, because I try to keep everything positive on this channel, but we do have to talk about these things. Energy vampires. I probably should have started this lecture with them first, but I do want to talk about that. And energy vampires are real, they do exist, and those are people who are like very needy or greedy, and they want to consume your time, your energy, your listening power, your resources, whatever, for their own gain. And they're not giving and matching the energy. So it could be a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be a lover, your significant other, it could be supervisors, it could be strangers, it could be whoever. And they're people, who, some people, they're like this with everybody. They're like kind of parasitic, and not kind of parasitic, they are parasitic. And then some people are just the energy vampires with you because of the light that you are or the resources that you have. And so they just take, no consideration for you. No, there's no reciprocation, or very little. Like you may be giving a lot to this relationship, and they're giving next to none, or they're always the needy one. They always need something. They always calling you when they need to talk about something that's happening to them. Or, whenever you talk to them, they dominate the conversation, they dominate the relationship, and it's always about them or what they have going on. That can be a serious issue. And that's another neat reason to establish some spiritual boundaries that you are not willing to compromise. And the state of your relationship of any relationship is can be reflected in yourself and your growth and what you are allowing to take place in your life. So think about that. Think about the people around you. Think about the relationships you have. Are they reciprocal? Are they healthy? Are your boundaries being respected? Or is it a parasitic kind of relationship, and you are the host hosting the parasite? And we don't want to be that one. Make sure you do parasite cleanses, and I mean, not just the physical ones, but energetic ones too. And keep yourself clear of those kinds of people and those kind of relationships, because we want, here on Astral Healing Arts, we want to have healthy relationships, healthy boundaries. We want everybody to be happy and nurtured, loved and maintained. And the only way we can do that is if we have healthy boundaries in relationships. So with that said, I will end tonight's talk. Remember to protect your energy. Be safe out here. Stay cool this summer. Peace and love, everyone.